Shifting focus to Iran, it has reportedly transferred hundreds of millions of dollars to Hezbollah over the past year through money exchange companies and private businesses in Dubai, allegedly. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Hezbollah requires substantial funding to rebuild and rearm following last year's conflict with Israel. Earlier, financial channels through Syria weakened after the collapse of the Iran-aligned Assad regime, and Lebanese authorities have increased restrictions on couriers bringing cash through the Beirut airport. Now, these disruptions appear to have pushed Iran and Hezbollah to rely more on alternative routes, reportedly, with Dubai allegedly and reportedly emerging as a key location in this process. According to the Wall Street Journal report, earnings from Iranian oil sales are set to be directed to exchange shops, private firms, businessmen, couriers linked to Tehran in the UAE. And from there, funds are allegedly moved to Hezbollah inside Lebanon using the Hawala system, a traditional method based on personal networks that transfers money without physically moving it across borders. A dealer reportedly collects the funds in Dubai while another releases equivalent amounts in Lebanon, with settlements handled later, reportedly. Now, earlier this month, the U.S. Treasury Department, remember, stated that Iran's Quds force has transferred more than $1 billion to Hezbollah since January, largely through these exchange entities. The Quds force is responsible for supporting Iranian-aligned militias outside Iran, and reports also indicating that Hezbollah is increasing recruitment and rebuilding its weapon stockpiles after the war with Israel. Earlier this year, Iranian and Saudi media reports claimed that Hezbollah is receiving money, equipment and weapons from Iran via sea, with shipments reportedly overseen by Iran's Quds forces and routed either directly from Iran or via intermediary countries, reportedly, with Hezbollah having access to contacts within Beirut's customs and port authorities and among the port workers who allegedly allow supplies to be received without regular government inspections. On to Pakistan, it has just rewritten its constitution to hand sweeping military and nuclear authority to one man, a general who now outranks every civilian institution in Pakistan, a general who is a known extremist, a general who is now the most powerful man in Pakistan. We're talking about General Asim Munir. Through a series of legal reforms, Munir has now been made Pakistan's supreme commander. In other words, Pakistan has a new dictator in a way, unlike anyone in the country's past. And considering Pakistan's history with despots, that is saying a lot. Now, here's what has happened. Asim Munir, the army chief of Pakistan, has been elevated to the post of Chief of Defence Forces, a post that has been created for the first time in Pakistan through a controversial 27th Amendment to the Pakistani Constitution. It places Saeed Asim Munir at the helm of all three services, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, for a fixed 5-year term. The amendments, which were passed by the Senate on the 1st of November, abolished the position of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, which is the senior-most tri-services role. Munir was set to retire naturally on Thursday itself, but an amendment increased the tenure of the service chiefs to 5 years, pushing his regular retirement date to 27th November 2027. Now he will be serving out a fresh 5-year term in his new post till 2030. As Chief of Defence, he will be having power over the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, also play a key role in deciding the head of the National Strategic Command, which oversees Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. These changes giving Asim Munir legal cover equivalent to that of the country's president. Nobody seems to be surprised as such. Already this year, we have seen sweeping legal reforms as well as conflict with neighbours consolidate the Pakistani military's grip on power, dilute the role of the civilian government, while at the same time provide unprecedented level of legal protection to the army chief. Sure, in Pakistan, the military is its most powerful institution and has governed the country for nearly half of its existence via a series of coups since its formation in 1947. One of those military rulers, General Pervez Musharraf, who ruled for almost a decade. Later, he was found guilty of treason while living in exile. But here's the thing, what makes this constitutional coup of General Munir different from the ones in the past is that this time Asim Munir gets a lifelong immunity from legal prosecution. You know what that means? Basically, it means that, say tomorrow, if Munir imposes a martial law, he will never be tried for committing an act of treason. So that means a coup is definitely possible. Even Pakistan-based legal experts saying that with the recent constitutional amendment, the Pakistani constitution itself is being disfigured during a civilian government, and the timing could not be more indicative. That's one of the things that's been said. And after India decimated those terror hubs in Pakistan to stop its cross-border terrorism, Pakistan retaliated by shooting drones across the West Indian border, all of which were shot down by the Indian defense systems. But in typical Pakistan style, Asim Munir claimed that they won the conflict. But Pakistan itself facing tensions with its western neighbor. Taliban ruled Afghanistan, ties between Islamabad and the rulers of Kabul hitting an all-time low. What was once seen by some in Pakistan as a deep friendship has devolved into resentment, leaving Afghanistan and Pakistan unable to stabilize their relationship. And what we now see in Pakistan is constant attack against security forces and outposts, which have largely been credited to the Pakistani offshoot of Taliban, the Tehreek-e-Taliban. Still, despite some opposition parties denouncing Munir's new role and legal immunity, only few people actually dare to protest openly, and there was only a short flash of social media outrage as such after the news of Asim Munir's elevation came out. Remember, no Prime Minister has ever completed a full 5-year term in Pakistan's history, and civilian governments have also openly acknowledged the military's role in state affairs. In September, Pakistani Defence Minister Khwaja Asif had called the political situation in Pakistan a hybrid model, which many took as a signal that key decisions are influenced by both civilian and military leaders. If anything, it is a confirmation of an open secret about Pakistan, that even during periods of civilian rule, the army chief of the country is always the real kingmaker. Munir previously led Pakistan's spy agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency. He was ousted from that post in 2019 after just 8 months under the previous Prime Minister Imran Khan for reasons that have never been made public. Khan himself was later pushed out by a no-confidence vote in the country's legislature in 2022, which analysts say was the result of falling out with the army. His successor, Shehbaz Sharif, elevated Munir to army chief. The military has long denied the involvement in elections or political affairs. But Khan, considered one of the most popular political leaders in Pakistan, is currently languishing in jail on corruption charges he denies, with many of his supporters accusing the army of fostering his rival coalition government, while pushing through 2 constitutional amendments in a year to tighten its oversight of courts and judges. Resentment among Khan's supporters boiled over into mass nationwide protests in 2023, remember, ahead of the elections he ultimately lost, and a march on the capital last year that turned into a violent standoff with the authorities there. And now, Imran Khan's party saying everything that is being done in Pakistan, let it be constitutional amendments or new parallel forces, is out of fear of Imran Khan and his popularity, quote unquote. That's the statement on your screen. And as far as the rights groups are concerned, the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan has said that the constitutional change further weakens essential checks and balances at a time when public trust in state institutions is fragile. Shifting focus now, Pakistan's headache continuing to grow as the country faces a storm of economic and public health crises. Measles, rubella, polio surging across Pakistan, with children being hit the hardest, while millions of adults struggle to put food on the table. Over the past 3 years itself, more than 131,000 measles cases have been reported, with children under 5 being hit the hardest. Polio remains endemic, making Pakistan one of only 2 countries in the world where the virus continues to threaten children. Vaccination drives aiming to protect millions of children have been hampered by parental refusals, widespread misinformation, and deadly attacks on the health workers. Despite efforts to reach over 15 million children, the country struggles to safeguard its youngest citizens from these life-threatening diseases.
In Pakistan, almost 17,000 cases have been registered in just 2025, and out of that 17,000 cases, many of the children have died because of these complications. So government of Pakistan has planned regarding vaccination, this vaccination campaign based on the burden of disease. So now it is the utmost importance of the parents and the workers and the community and the schools, teachers, everyone, that to participate in this campaign to protect the children so that we can reduce the burden of this disease in our community.
In fact, the public health emergency comes as Pakistan's economy teeters on the edge. Underemployment remains a deep and persistent challenge, particularly in the country's less developed provinces. Poverty rates have spiked since the pandemic, hitting women and youth the hardest. Now, most new jobs are low productivity positions that actually fail to match the skills of the workforce. Female labor force participation remains shockingly low, and the educated underemployment is rampant. The World Bank warnings have been clear. Reliance on informal, low-quality jobs leaves the country highly susceptible to shocks, and the struggle to provide decent employment continues unabated. Inflation continues to crush households, foreign reserves at dangerously low levels, millions struggle to afford basic meals. Yet in the middle of this struggle for even the most basic necessities, the government raised defense spending by a massive 20%, even as the country grapples with disease, poverty, unemployment, and an economy on its knees. On top of all this, Pakistan's public debt has reached staggering levels. As of June 2025, the total debt hit $286.8 billion. $286.8 billion, which is a 13% rise from last year, with domestic debt standing at $54.5 trillion and external debt at $91.8 billion. Now, the debt to GDP ratio is now around 70%, making the country highly dependent on international aid and IMF bailouts, just to stay afloat. With children facing deadly diseases, millions struggling in poverty and the economy hanging by a thread, Pakistan is caught in that crisis of its own making. A toxic combination of health, economic and fiscal emergencies that is showing no signs of letting up. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.